All right, hello everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am absolutely beside myself with excitement tonight. I am chatting with the one and only Claudeous Creamer of fucking Possessed. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. So you and I were chatting a little bit before we started this, and it sounds like, and I'm very excited about this, sounds like there is new Possessed material in the works. Is that correct?
Oh, oh yes.
Nice.
Yep.
I don't know what you can say about that at this point. Are you what's happening right now? What are you guys doing?
We're finalizing the writing, in the final stages of the writing process. Um, hopefully be demoing it out real soon here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so excellent follow-up album, of course, to Revelations of Oblivion, which is perfect. I mean, it's metal perfection. Like I can't overstate that. I think when that album came out, one, it was kind of, I guess I knew that Possessed was back, but it was kind of nebulous in my world. And then when the album came out and I heard it, and it was like, holy shit, this is, it kind of redefined what metal is and should be in the modern era, in my opinion. I know that it's kind of a maybe a bold statement, but I mean, it just, what an amazing album. I mean, really, just fantastic.
Well, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
It was quite challenging actually. Jeff and Daniel wrote most of that album, and they just did a fantastic job on, you know, um, how do I explain it? Um, it had to sound like Possessed.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, it must sound like Possessed, and it had to be modern as well. So it was quite challenging to achieve that, but I think we did really well with that.
I agree. I agree. And yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, yeah, I mean, it's got to sound like Possessed. And what's kind of crazy, I mean, there had not been a Possessed album for 35 years. So
Right,
to try to capture that sound without it being nostalgic necessarily, but and moving forward, and I think you guys nailed it. I mean, it really, um it feels like a Possessed album, but it feels like, yeah, this is the next step. This is where Possessed goes from there, which I thought was
right.
really cool. So I know you joined Possessed in 2016, and I was really curious kind of how that all played out. How did that happen? How did that come together? How did you get together with Jeff?
It's an interesting story actually. The previous guitar player had to leave for personal reasons. Mike Party,
Hmm.
great player. He had some personal, reasons that he had to leave, and I guess Jeff asked everybody he knew, because he was looking for a guitar player, and he got my name back like 100 times. He said so.
Hmm.
He hit me up on Facebook, and of course, I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Nice.
So that's how that happened.
Wow. That's cool. That's it was just such a, like I said, it just seemed like it came, and I know it was probably in the works for several years, as far as, Jeff deciding to get going again, getting the band, kind of relaunching Possessed. But it's, as a fan, it seemed like it just kind of came out of nowhere in a very good way. Um, I remember, I guess it was, I don't know, one of the metal magazines, and just seeing, Possessed is touring. I'm like, Possessed? What? No, that's not, that can't be real. And then, yeah, sure enough, yeah, I think I saw a YouTube video of you guys. It must have been, it was before the album, so it must have been that summer before, like 2018. I think like Bloodstock, and
Yeah.
I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was, and I think you even played some new material, but just to
Yeah.
hear those old songs and to see you and Daniel just tearing it up on guitar. I mean, it was, I mean, it was a thing of beauty. And it still is. I watch that all the time, actually. I go back to that video constantly. I think it's amazing. I think it's a thing of beauty. It's really cool.
Yeah, that was an amazing tour, man. I really enjoyed that tour. Yeah, that tour I played my SP custom guitar right
Oh
there.
yeah, nice. Very
Yeah,
cool.
love that guitar, man. Badass. Um, but yeah, that was an incredible tour. It was mostly festival dates. Um, Bloodstock and Summer Breeze and Bakken.
Oh,
You know, man, it was incredible. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. And I would imagine the, I mean, the audience, I mean, I know it was posted, but, on posters and whatnot, but it's got to be like, I mean, one of those things, again, it's like, Possessed is back. Like, how is this possible? It's been 35 years, and I mean, it was,
Yeah.
yeah, such an incredible thing, such a thing of beauty to see that happened again.
Oh yeah. It really was. I mean, it's how do I describe it? I mean, Possessed made a huge mark on the whole metal community. You
Yeah.
know, my first tour with Possessed was really incredible, and um, to see the fans and their response to Jeff, you know, you would see people weeping,
Oh, yeah.
and and he just loves the fans so much, and he loves doing what we do, and he will spend another half hour out on stage just with the fans after we're done. To
Nice.
me, I mean, dude, really? That is so amazing to me to see and to be a part of it. It's very special.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, and you've been a part of the metal scene for a long time. You've
Yeah.
been in multiple bands, Dragon Lord and From Hell, and man, I mean the Council, the list goes on. You've been doing a lot of stuff for a long time. So you've already made your mark, of course, but I think, yeah, it feels like it's even like a bigger, and you're doing new stuff too. Powershift, I was going to ask you about that. I was really curious. So of course during the pandemic, so I guess it was what, 2020 or so, you got together with some guys and started a new project, Powershift, and put out an
Hmm.
EP just this past year. So I was curious about kind of how that started, and where that's going as well, along with Possessed.
Power Shift, when the whole pandemic thing started, I was stuck at home, like everybody, I guess. And I just had all this music inside. So I started writing songs and tracking them in my home studio. Well, I got probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 tunes tracked and ready, and then got together with a group of friends and said, "Hey guys, let's do this new project. Why not? It can be a recording thing, or go do some shows, or just have fun." So that's how that happened.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
because I play drums and bass and everything. I sing too.
Oh, wow.
So I tracked everything myself on the demos, and then just pulled together, the guys I thought that would work, and it's been going well.
Nice. Do you have I mean, I know you released an EP, um a self-titled EP. Do you have plans to do a full album at some point? Are there talks about doing that?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for a record deal to come along,
Okay,
and we've got a couple different offers on the table right now.
cool.
Um, the demos and the EP we did with Juan Ortiaga, one of the greatest producers on the planet.
Yeah.
He's done Testament and Machine Head, everybody. I mean, Juan's amazing. So
Yes.
he's kind of a part of the band, like the unseen part of the band. So he it's like his baby too. So he really worked hard on making that as good as it could be, and we're gonna take him with us when we actually record the full album.
Oh, nice. Very cool. So that is in the works then. Awesome. Or at least planned. Do you have any sort of, maybe it's too early to ask this, but do you have any sort of dates at this point, or kind of target dates for the full album, or? Um,
Not at this point.
okay,
Possessed, of course, is my main focus.
cool.
Um, so once Possessed is up and going, or we got stuff going, then that goes, by the wayside until, I have time, obviously.
Right, right. And you had mentioned so Possessed working on the follow-up album to Revelations. Um, do you guys have a target date for that album as far as, launching that and then touring?
Um, Not at the moment. We've got a couple shows coming up.
Cool.
There's two that I can mention, which is September 22nd at the Whiskey Go Go in Hollywood.
Oh, sweet.
And then we have September 24th is the Mexico Metal Fest 6
Oh, cool.
in Monterrey, Mexico.
Nice.
Yeah. Uh, Incredible. Did the last one, I think it was 2019. Man, what a wonderful festival. So we're real excited to get back down there and, just love the fans there.
Yeah.
They're so just awesome. Love it.
I've heard that. I mean, I've never been, but I've heard that, fans south of the border, definitely, Mexico, and then of course into Central and South America, that just I mean, I've talked to multiple musicians that talk about going to, especially metal, especially death metal, going to South America, Central America, Mexico, and just saying like, man, like, we love our American fans, but God, we go down there and it's just like chaos, like in a good way. It's like just,
Yeah.
man, like crazy, which is cool.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same really all around the world. All the fans are just fantastic. And I personally love to go out and talk to them and just hang out with them. I love it. You know, that's really what makes it all so cool for me. I just really enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, I think that I'm not a musician myself, but it seems like that would be that would be it's kind of the icing on the cake, really, I guess, in a lot of ways, to be able to play, get that, be up on stage and then go down and talk to people and interact with the fan base. And I'm sure that's got to be, um it's got to be really rewarding, I would imagine, in a
It,
lot of ways.
Absolutely, yeah. It really is. And again, I love being on stage. I love playing and performing, but it's the interaction with the fans and stuff that really just, man, I love it.
Nice, nice. Um, and as I mentioned before, I have not unfortunately seen you guys live apart from, like YouTube videos and things like that, Bloodstock and whatnot. But one thing that um I really love watching is how tight you guys are as a band and how well you play off of each other. And particularly, I mean, I think everybody in the band, but particularly I think you and Daniel, um, man, you guys are just so tight. And there's, I mean, it's, aggressive death metal, but there's these wonderful harmonics between you two that, I think in some ways is a rare thing sometimes in these days and ages. Maybe I'm full of shit, and I am, but often, but I mean, I think, you two, it almost reminds me of like those early, like Thin Lizzy and Judas Priest and that kind of, that dual guitar work, those
Mhm.
kind of harmonics. And I think you guys really capture that element really well, in a lot of ways. And I don't know if that's conscious or just how it is between you guys.
That's it's a cool thing. I mean, Daniel's an amazing player. Um, and you're right. There's a strange phenomena sometimes between uh, guitar players and bands in general that you just gel together really well.
Hmm.
And I've played with some of the greatest musicians in the world, and you don't get that from everybody.
Right.
It's a magical connection that you just kind of stumble upon, and I think Daniel and I have
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really cool, you know.
Yeah, and I think, just, and I would suggest to anybody watching this, and yeah, check out any, pull up a modern possessed video, live footage, and you'll see and hear that kind of the way you guys play off of each other. And just, it's, yeah, like you said, it's kind of magical. It's very symbiotic, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like, you guys
Yeah.
are really in tune with one another, which is cool to see. And that's, I think, a true testament to musicians. Like, really good musicianship is when, people that can play off of each other like that. It's like you're almost like reading each other's minds in a way. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's kind of freaky. Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's weird like that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I wanted to ask you, let's go back in time. I'm curious, like, when did you start playing? Like, what did you come from a musical family? Like, what was the impetus for you, for Claudeous, to become a guitar player? What started that?
Um, you know, growing up in the 70s, I was surrounded by all the greatest music you could imagine. I mean, I had R&B and soul and funk and disco and, rock and roll and old country, all that stuff. So I was surrounded by all of that. My father was a guitar player as well.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, he played flamenco and stuff like that.
Oh, sweet.
Um, and I'll never forget. I lived across the street from these two. They were brothers. I can't remember their names right now, but I was 2 years old. Okay, and I would go hang out with them because I always hung out with older people. But um, I remember going over there, and they had that old Kiss poster. When Peter Criss had the bandage with the blood on his head.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that poster?
Yeah, totally.
So seeing that like changed my life, right? That I was just obsessed with Kiss. So that's kind of what got me started. And I got my first guitar when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
My first real guitar. I had the little plastic ones,
Right, yeah.
at 2 years old. I used to put on shows for my family.
Awesome.
But yeah. And my dad, the funny thing, that probably the greatest thing he could have ever done for me was, I remember one day asking him to show me how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. And he goes, "No, figure it out."
Mm,
I was like, wow, okay. So I went and figured it out by ear. And that was probably the greatest thing he could have done for me.
cool. Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And kind of jumping forward in terms of learning, so I would imagine, and maybe you already knew this, being a fan, but when you joined Possessed, I mean, you had to learn, a fairly large catalog of music to go
Yeah.
out on the road with that. Was that kind of the same, like, all right, shit, I got to learn this, like, just go for it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I had 2 weeks. I learned the entire set.
Holy shit.
Um, yeah. And by ear. And, I hadn't really, I had played shows with the band before that, but I never really met the guys. Um, I flew down to LA to rehearse with the band, and instantly it was like, I'm home.
Nice.
And they're all such awesome guys and awesome musicians as well, of course, but I just felt at home. Like these were my lifelong brothers. It was really cool. And, you know, probably an hour into the rehearsal, they're like, "You want the gig?" Yeah, I'll take it, you know.
That's
So
cool.
it was really cool, man. It was a special moment for me.
Yeah.
And still to this day when we're playing on stage, I look around and I'm like, wow, I'm on stage with Possessed right now. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's cool. So,
Were you and this is probably a really stupid question, but were you a Possessed fan back in the 80s? Were you, back in the early days?
oh yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah, anything that was over the top and aggressive was my thing,
Cool.
you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Um, I have to ask you, and kind of another silly question, but the nickname Scooby, where does that come from?
That's a good one. Oh my gosh. Well, so again, we'll go back to when I was 2 years old. I didn't walk right away. I scooted around on my butt, and they kind of called me Scooter at first, and then it just turned into Scooby.
Nice.
Yeah, and my brothers and sisters all have nicknames as well. Mine stuck. My family still calls me that.
Nice. Nice.
And my oldest brother, his nickname is Flea,
Okay.
and they still call him that too.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
Well,
My wife calls me Scooby.
oh, oh, that's great. That's great. And you even in some of your bands, you go by Scooby. Like I know, like Mucus Membrane, you go by Scooby
Right.
Creamer rather than Claudeous. That's
Well, that's actually another story right there. Uh, Dragon Lord, Eric Peterson.
oh
He
yeah.
goes, no, 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 I'm not calling you that. He goes, what's your real name? So I told him. He goes, that's metal. That that's what I'm calling you. It's like, okay, that's cool. So, wow, that is kind of metal. That is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm named after my grandfather.
Oh, that's
So,
cool. I like
so
that.
that even makes it cooler.
Yeah, that's really cool. In fact, it's funny you bring that up. I was so my stepson, a friend of his rents a room from us here in our house, and I told him I had an interview tonight, and he said, "Oh, who are you interviewing?" I said, "Claudeous Creamer from Possessed," and he's like, "Wait, that's his name?" I'm like, yeah. He goes, "That is the coolest name I have ever heard. That is the greatest name." He's like, "Is that his real name?" I'm like, "Yeah, because his nickname is Scooby." He's like, "That, yeah, that's his real name." He's like, "I fucking love that name." I'm like, "So do I." It's like, yeah, it's
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, that is a metal name. Yeah, Claudius, what a metal name. Yeah, that's a great name.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so Eric Peterson's the one that changed that for me.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, and I'm just gonna rock that from now on because again it honors my grandfather and just kind of makes me feel more grown up, right? Instead of my silly nickname.
well, it's a good nickname too, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's cool. Um, so what, I don't know if you can tell me much about the new album, the new Possessed album in terms of writing. So is it kind of like, what is the writing process for Possessed now? Is it a collaborative effort? Kind of what is, is it like you and Daniel coming up with riffs, or is it Jeff first coming up with lyrics? Like how do you guys kind of, how do you write? I'm curious about how the writing happens with all of you.
It's a collaboration actually from between all of us, really. Uh, Jeff comes up with a lot of riffs too, and his riffs are, they're incredible.
Cool.
You got to figure he wrote all the original Possessed stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So he comes up with all those magic little riffs, and then he'll send them to Daniel and I, and then we'll kind of build something around it, or you know, I wrote a couple tunes, sent them to Dan, and Dan's like, "Oh, those are great." So he's gonna put his little stamp on them, right? And then, I sent it to Jeff, and he loved it. It just kind of works that way.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds like it's very organic. It's a very, which is how it should be, really, between a band, in my opinion. It should be a really organic, collaborative effort. That's what makes a band. What, in my opinion, what makes a great band. Um, and
Right.
and definitely Possessed is one of the top bands in my opinion. I mean, man, wow. Um, sorry, I know I'm jumping around a lot here, but I did want to circle back. I was curious about, we were talking about, when you were younger and learning guitar, and you mentioned Kiss, so I would assume, like Ace, but I was curious, like, who were the big influences for you as a guitar player, and maybe still are?
You know, I'll have to say, if I'm going to go back to that era, of course it would be Ace Frehley. Then you got Richie Blackmore,
Oh, yeah.
killer, right? Um, and then you got Hank Sherman and all those guys from Merciful Fate. So my '80s experience was more Merciful Fate, King Diamond, Halloween,
Cool.
um, Grim Reaper, all that stuff, and then of course Possessed and Sadist again. Love Sadist,
Oh, yeah. Very underrated.
man. Yes. Well, coming soon. um, but yeah, Testament. Everybody, I loved everybody. I loved Megadeth. Um, gosh, going back that far, Creator,
Oh, yeah.
man. The first CD, actual CD I ever bought was Steve Vai's Passion and Warfare.
Oh, cool.
That
Great.
was the first actual CD I bought.
Nice.
Love Steve Vai, Jason Becker, and Cacophony. Those were all big, huge influences on me. Judas Priest, all the goodies.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you can hear some of that in your playing, even with Possessed. I mean, I know it's, darker and, it's death metal, but I'm not a musician, I'm not a guitar player, but there's, the way you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, I get the tremolos and I mean, there's these tones that you have where I feel like, yeah, it feels like, yeah, there's kind of this influence from, and you have your own thing going, but it's like, yeah, like Hank Sherman and those kind of, yeah, that Merciful Fate kind of vibe to some
yeah,
of it, which is really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, listening to the Powershift stuff. When I hear that back, I hear a whole lot of King Diamond, Merciful Fate influence in my writing.
Nice.
Um, with Possessed, again, with like my solos and stuff, I had to be very careful not to go over the top. I had to keep it real, if you will.
Mhm.
So I had to stay within that realm that it needed to be, because to go, how do I explain it? To go too modern would have been not accepted,
Mm.
right? So I had to keep it within that realm. So my influences are there, but I really had to do what was necessary instead of, oh, look what I can do.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so I really like the way it turned out. I really do. It's great.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
yeah,
I agree. I think, like I was saying before, I think, I mean, definitely, 2019, Revelations was top 5 albums, if not the top album for me that year, and continues to, I mean, it's a constant in my, I listen to it almost daily. I mean, it's fantastic. It's so good. And yeah, I mean, and I cannot wait to hear the new material. I'm so excited to hear, the fact that you guys are writing new material, that's coming. That's exciting news. That's really exciting news for me. Yeah.
well, thank you, brother. We really appreciate that, and we're excited to get the next album done as well. COVID just really threw a wrench in everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're coming back. And then Jeff had a major surgery as well
Oh, that's
that he
right.
had to recover from, and so that put a bit of a wrench in it as well. But again, he's back, he's strong, he's ready to rock, and we're ready for him. So
Nice. That's great.
yeah.
That's very cool. Um, Well, Claudius, I don't want to keep you all night. I do have one more question for you. So as you may or may not know, my blog is Brews and Tunes. I pair beer with heavy metal albums. And I believe you're a beer drinker. I think you're drinking some beer tonight.
Yep.
So I was curious, so say it's like a Friday night, a Saturday night, Claudius is hanging out at home. What beer are you drinking and what album are you spinning?
Well, right now, and oftentimes I'm drinking Natural Light
There you go.
or Coors Light. And people sometimes like, why would you drink that? Well, because I can drink a 12 pack and I'm still fine.
Right.
I love all beer. Um, Maybe I'll plug a local beer company, Ghost Town Brewery in Oakland, California.
Oh, cool.
Incredible beers. I really love their beer. But I can only have about 2 or 3 and I'm done.
Right.
But yeah, Ghost Town, man. Wow. The taste, the flavor, the quality is just unbelievable.
Nice.
So check them out. And they're huge metal fans.
Oh, awesome. You gotta love
Huge
that.
metal fans. So you go in there and they're blasting metal. I had the singer from Powershift was in there 2 weeks ago. And he called me while he was in there. He goes, dude, I'm hanging out. I'm at Ghost Town and they're rocking Possessed right now.
Nice.
I was like, oh, sweet. And he goes, well, they're huge fans, so I thought I'd call you. I was like, oh, sweet, man, cool. And I was like, oh, tell them all I said hi. And I was on speakerphone, and they're all like, hey, dude, So, yeah, it was just really cool.
Right on.
Great dudes, man. I've been in there. Incredible, facility. You can see all the vats, the hops
nice.
and all the stuff, and it's so cool, man. And they're blasting metal. They're death metal fans. So
that's great. I need to check that place out.
Yep. So
very cool. Very cool. And then what do you usually spinning? What are you listening to? What do you like to listen to on your weekends?
Man, I listen to a whole variety of different things. Sometimes I'm listening to Camelot.
Oh, nice.
Or I'm listening to Dream Theater. Today, my repertoire was Suffocation and Incantation.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. And then there's other days where I'm rocking Heart,
right
or
on.
Boston. I just love everything. I just think music of all genres is very special and it influences you in different ways,
Right on. Right on. I love that. That's cool. Well, Claudius, thank you so much for chatting with me tonight. It has been an honor and a pleasure, my friend. This has been great. So cheers to you. For everybody watching this, please check out in the description below. There's links to Possessed, as well as Powershift. Check out if you haven't heard Powershift, check it out. Killer stuff. And if you haven't heard Possessed, shame on you. But and definitely pick this album up because it is perfection, metal perfection. So again, thank you so much, Claudius. This has been awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.
I really appreciate it. And have a great night, my friend.
You too.
All right, later.